Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good morning. Almost afternoon, isn't it? Yeah, no, I'm pushing it. How you guys doing? Good morning to Weather Geek. I hope everything is back to working today. The gremlins coming back to work from vacation always get me. But so far, so good. Hello to Michaela. Hello to Les. Where's the Tina that said hi? Hello to Tony as well. Let's see what else we got. Carrie, hi Carrie. And talk to you in a while, Carrie. We missed you yesterday. Yeah, the system did not take YouTube yesterday. I don't know why, but it obviously did today. So that's good. Sorry, I'm going to turn the music down because I know it could be a little loud. You're like, what? I can't hear what he's saying. He mumbles so much. Usually it's just Tawana and Myra that say that to me. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to Snow Talk. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good, and this is where we have a chance to normally talk about our snow chances, as we've been doing on the block here for 25 years. Take a look at any chance at all. Sometimes there is, sometimes, well, there's not. Well, the thaw that we've been enjoying has fit perfectly into a time period where we really have not wanted to deal with much of a headache from the wintry side because we needed to get around, right? So now that we're back to work and school, now we really want those snow days. And the pattern still looks interesting as we head throughout the rest of January into February. And we'll cover that with the new long-term stuff coming up here in just a few moments. First up, though, is going to be the snowboard. And it is getting a little more on the stacked side of things. A few snow showers Saturday and Sunday. A little tougher to get much out of this. I'll explain why. It's all about the speed of certain parts of the systems rolling on by. But I do not see anything that's like, wow, with the weekend. So that's relatively minor. You get into a few days later, a chance for what looks to be rain to snow versus rain or snow, but it looks to be a clipper. I'm not a huge fan of how that one's looking right now. But we'll get into the 18th to the 21st, and then 23rd through the 26th. Notice the dates. This may not be exact. In fact, I doubt it will be. Because storm systems don't follow what timeline we give them. We follow them. But you get the idea that every few days there is a piece of energy, a system rolling on through. And some will be minor, clipper-like systems. Some are potentially fully phased systems and storm systems that can become winter storms in the region. Not saying necessarily here, but in the region close by. So that's going to keep us on our toes for the rest of January. And the way it's trending now, February is going to be more of the same of that. So I'll try to give you some hints on how this will break down a little more in just a second. First off, outside, it's not bad. I mean, temperatures actually feel better yesterday than today, even though it is a little warmer now than when it was yesterday. It's just you take away that hazy sunshine we had, and you add more of a humid atmosphere to it. At times, we've had a few areas of drizzle. Today, it's just kind of a good nap day to be had. It's a live look there at Ollie International. Temperature right now, 56. We made it, I believe we touched 60 yesterday. 54 right now as you head toward areas of Muffordsville, Kentucky. Hello, everyone down there toward Cave City. And then you get down into northern counties, even into the mid-50s as well. A lot of clouds. Radar is on. Actually, let me double check to make sure because I've been out. I'll turn it on even a more general radar to capture any light showers. Yeah, there's just not much out there to talk about. So, and here's the thing. The front itself is right here. This is where your dry line is, just west of Vanderburgh County. So as soon as that pushes in, which is going to be in about 4 hours from now, once that happens, that will take away any rain chance that we tried to get today. So as you can tell, most of the day is going to be dry. Okay, so once this front moves on by, the wind may actually be at its strongest point too, by the way, when that little patch of clearing works in from the west. That's when the strongest of winds of up to 30 miles per hour will take place, depending on how close to sunset we're going to be at that point. Excuse me. The more sun that's available, the more of a windier setup. But the majority of this system being a northern tracker is up here in the Great Lakes, where it's been busy for a while. A northern tier of the lower 48. Our next system that we're looking, you're like, oh, there it is. That's got to be the one that arrives Thursday and Friday, right? Nope. Well, maybe it's this one. Nope. It's actually way over here into Southern California. The majority of the system, the big part of it, is offshore. But that is the one that's going to be moving across the southern United States and then bolt right into the Ohio Valley as we head into Thursday for the first one. Second will be Thursday night into Friday. They are still a twinsies. It's a 1-2 punch that's coming in. One affects the other. And I'm speaking on terms of this in two ways. One, in terms of rainfall, how excessive will the rainfall be? And two, will we get severe thunderstorms out of this? Again, it's a 1-2 punch, very sensitive forecast. It's not just one system, one squall line, one supercell. It's not anything that simple that we could say, yeah, there's a chance for that, and we'll be tracking as it gets closer. It's very muddy and messy on how this one is interacting. So confidence is going to remain fairly low on the severe thunderstorm side of things until the very last minute. So we're monitoring this. We don't really want to flag any type of alert day setup until we have great confidence that a solution like that can lead to warnings will start to materialize. We're not there yet. We're close. We are quite close, in fact. But today's data only just made things a little more on the muddier side, where we need to hold off just a little longer, and I'll explain what we're looking for. And if we see that signal come back as early as even this afternoon, then yes, we will have some alert days out for the end of the week. But right now, I think we are just under that mark. Okay, so here's the risk for severe weather tomorrow as the low moves out into the other side of the Rockies. It's going to be the front range there that'll pick up a few isolated storms, marginal risk located there. And they did add the marginal risk in a fairly expansive area for the Ozarks, all the way up to about Paducah, Kentucky. And again, that's for Thursday. These outlooks go until 7 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning. So this is Thursday and Thursday night. After 7 a.m., actually, that's when I do think we will get some of the thunderstorm actions that begin to build in from our southwest. That'll be the leading edge of the warm front, and I'll show you that a little better on Futurecast here. All right. Before I get into that, any questions on just the overall setup before I get into the nitty-gritty? Jamie, if Hawaii can get snow, so can we. Yeah, Hawaii gets snow every year. It's always fun when we see the winter storm warnings for them. It's always a good trivia question. True or false that all 50 states have seen snow? And everyone always says false because they always feel that Hawaii is the one that's going to be the tricky one. But in reality, they all have. Good morning from PRP. All right, once again, good morning still. Hello, Shonda. Hello, Jamie. Oh, Les is diving right into the nitty gritty too on the modeling. Yeah, we'll get into that here in just a second. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, I'm not as sold on the MGO being a huge factor right now. If it helps Les down the road, it's been a little wonky, so I'm not sure it's going to be as aggressive with this influence as it was, but we'll come around. Been a long time since I was 20. Yeah, me too. Me too. All right, let's move on. Here's Futurecast. Note the clock at the top. Try to pick out where you are. There's Louisville, at least on the map, so you should know if you're north or south of it, hopefully, or right in the middle. Thursday morning. I know the clock starts at 2 p.m., but it's worth mentioning the morning on Thursday, we'll have a warm front. A little appendage will be sticking out from the low pressure itself as it moves across Missouri. That will be very brief. It's going to be just a narrow band of showers along it. I'm thinking it's going to be about this time, 7 to 10 a.m. on Thursday. A few showers as it quickly races by Kentucky and Indiana. But once it passes by, that is when the wind will ramp up. Moisture levels will start to build in. You will notice there's a change here, that we're getting a flow of air that we haven't had yet. And that's going to be the Gulf air just flowing right in behind that little baby as we head into Thursday. But here's the thing. This system is going to be very tilted. So other than the rain that we have Thursday morning with the warm front, it may take several more hours to get rain back in the area because we're going to see several showers and storms and even initially some smaller supercells that will form in portions of Missouri and Illinois that will eventually congeal into a little bit more of a line and then slowly slide to an area right along or parallel to the Ohio River. But that will take nearly 12 hours to take place. So the more east you are, the more that you will end up with a completely dry setup for the majority of Thursday and Thursday night. The more west you are, you'll end up in the storm action fairly quick and have much more of it. So this is, once again, a view and area divided on how this will play out. But this is number one, remember, of two systems. As it rolls on by, the only concern I've got right now for any severe would actually be around rush hour for Friday morning. Not a favorable time to get severe weather, being that's our solar minimum that we have. There's no heating from the sun yet. Just now, well, actually just before sunrise at that point. But the fields line up, the low-level jet, everything is there, that if you're going to get any isolated severe weather potential, this system's got it. You can tap into it. But what's missing is the fuel. The ability to have the bases of the clouds be low to the ground, not a strong signal for that. They look relatively high up. So you could have a mean-looking radar. You can have rotation showing up on the radar. But if it's not a danger of it getting down to below the tree line, then they're just strong thunderstorms. Majority of the wind stays aloft. Now, as always the case in the scenario, this is what models tend to show. And other than the spring and the summertime, they usually always show that there's no fuel, no cape, a lot of wind shear. You've heard this story over and over again. And then suddenly we get to that day, and then we got a severe or tornado watch out and isolated tornadoes touch down. So models don't do very well on those little details and lower layers of the atmosphere until we get closer to the event. That's what's frustrating when it comes to us trying to get alert days out to you guys, is that, yeah, we see the setup. I mean, on paper, okay, yeah, this makes sense. It deserves attention. But there's some things missing on our list here that we need to define first before we raise the flag on that. So we're not quite there yet, but this is one time period, may end up being the main one. We'll see, that we need to watch to see if any fuel can be generated. If not, this will be just, again, a noisy morning on Friday. But here's what gets even more interesting. This system, because of the front being very slow, this is the cold front from number one, the core of the system, by the way, the big red L on the weather map, it's already north of the banner. You can't even see it. It's way up here in Canada now. So this front is dragging along the Ohio River because there is a block in the Carolinas area. So the front cannot really just push east. So it will linger. And that is very, very important for two areas, two reasons. One, with a training effect of a southwest northeast flow, you're going to get rounds of rain repeating over the same areas. You're going to get some spots that pick up the most of the training aspect of this, easily over 2 inches of rain. Now, we can handle majority of that, but there will be some ponding of water, some minor flooding that may develop while it's coming down. That wouldn't surprise me, but we'll watch out for the morning commute as well. But we got to watch system number two. That one then will move in. The core of it, and this looks odd, you see the obvious split that you got here. The core, because the jet structure the way it is really ramping up. This is a phased system here that's moving in. So the core of the low pressure, the surface low, is going to be tracking to our northwest into Indiana and around Indianapolis. You know, that's a good track typically for severe weather that can take place in the Ohio River Valley. That is concerning. But because we had system number one that came through just 18 hours before that, it pushed the squall line that was hugging along the Ohio River for Friday morning. It pushed it all the way to the Appalachian Mountains. And that's where it will likely be for Friday night. And if you have a squall line of thunderstorms or even heavy rain that's slanted like that south of Kentucky, it usually bodes well for us because it's a moisture blocker. It prevents the deeper moisture from surging all the way into areas north of that, ahead of the surface low. So if that holds, then I don't see much of a concern on severe weather right now on Friday. What would change that? Well, if we got any sun that would break out ahead of the low itself, that would not be good for Friday afternoon. Right now, there's no sign of that. It looks very, very overcast. So I think right now everything's on our side. But it's an interesting setup with that low tracking by, because that's what it looked like even just yesterday, is that this rain band would not get pushed east and we would end up with a bigger problem here. But now there's growing support that system number one will help move the line over, move the needle over enough to where we can at least cut down on some of the rain totals over the area, and we can at least reduce some of the severe weather. So that would mean that the Friday morning first round of storms along the Ohio River would be the main ones to watch for anything strong. But don't want to discount this scenario on Friday night. I just don't think right now with this kind of a look, you're just not going to get much action out of that. All right, another thing to watch as it moves on by is the backlash here. This depends on how fast it's moving, because this will do the loop-de-loop dumbbell effect, where the energy itself wraps in on a jet streak, wraps in behind the low, and then curls and pushes in a batch, in this particular case, of snow showers and flurries in behind it. But at the same time I drew that, you have to keep in mind the entire system is still moving to the northeast. So it's trying to do the loop-de-loop, but at the same time, it's moving away from us. So speed is a factor here. If it's moving too fast, by the time that snow shower activity can wrap around the low, it's too far north, and it's going to wrap around to Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, into Columbus, Ohio. If it's very slow to move out of town, the loop-de-loop process can complete, and we'll end up with a batch of snow right along the Ohio River and I-64. Too early to tell. There is a trend for the faster idea in the past 24 hours. So that if it keeps going faster, that would remove any chance for snow showers. But that's what we're watching, the snow shower chance on Sunday. And as I mentioned, not a big ordeal there. All right. So on your severe side from Storm Prediction Center, they did move for the Friday risk. There's slight risk out of almost all of Kentucky. It's really just the Jackson purchase area down into Tennessee. And that makes sense because of that split flow idea. I think it'll end up being probably more east than this, the way it's looking here. Again, the only way I could see it being drawn back into our area would just be if there's any hint at all ahead of that low that the sun can come out or add a little fuel into the mix to counteract the idea of how active the radar is in Tennessee and East Kentucky. It will take that to overpower it. And right now, the signal's not strong. Real quick, one last look at the CSU, the analogs, yada, yada, the severe parameters that we can look at. Here is the analogs on your far left. Here is CSU, Colorado State in the middle, and Storm Prediction Center on the right. Notice, if you're able to see it, even CSU for Thursday's round has removed the yellow from our area. Yesterday had the black dot right over Louisville. It has focused everything more southwest. And as you get into Friday, the signal has really been mudded down over Kentucky, and it's focusing on the deep south. I think it's just going to be a messy radar, and that's the reason why. Okay, that's the severe weather side all the way through the week. That's a lot, and that's just to get through the weekend. Any questions? And I know you may have some on timing. That's going to get worked out still. Only thing I'm a little more confident on timing is going to be Thursday, just because we'll have the warm front showers in the morning. Otherwise, I don't see the thunderstorms moving back in slowly from the west until really late Thursday night into rush hour Friday morning. And how Friday turns out will just depend on the second low. We'll work on that timing a bit later. But I know you guys probably have a lot of questions on timing, but just give us some time to get that worked out. Not an easy one. What are the tornado chances looking like, Brad asked? They're low end, but this is every system this season has produced at least one tornado that is in a similar setup like this. And the radar only caught one of them, I believe, because they're so fast. They can develop, touchdown, go back in the cloud before the radar can complete its scan. And how we hear about it is usually somebody says, hey, a barn I saw down the street was blown down. Then they go investigate and look back at the radar data minute by minute, and then they're able to see that the NRD was in circulation, which is what happened in Harrison County just recently. So, but it was only down just for a brief moment. I know it's all it takes, right? But this is not your type of setup that features an EF4 that's on the ground crossing 5 states supercell. It's not that environment. It's an environment of those little brief tornadoes, in many cases without lightning, that just touch down and go back up. Still a problem and can still cause damage, but they're very hard to detect, especially in real time. So a lot of it usually is done in post-analysis, which is not comforting. But technology is not quite there yet to capture every little spin up like that. But we are known for that in our area. We're probably one of the hardest areas in the country for what we call QLCS lines of thunderstorms that have little spin up tornadoes. Most areas of the country can get them, don't get me wrong, but we're one of the more challenging ones. And I think it's because of our terrain that we have here. All right, I'm on a ramble, so let me move on because you guys want to know about snow. I know. All right, so this moves out of here. We get colder on Sunday. Yeah, nothing extreme, but we do get colder. We get into next week. This is where we start to see the first of whatever is going to happen here. We're going to get these waves that drop down and energy across the Gulf Coast. This will be a repeating look over and over, as we talked about yesterday, of whether or not they are, single, ready to mingle, or are they on a date and they end up handshaking and becoming a little more of a full-fledged winter storm. It's going to be tough. It's all about timing. They've got to be timed out just right to have a phase that will take place. If they're just off by 12 to 18 hours, it's see you later. Doesn't happen. But not all bad news, because even if we just get the one piece, even just the clipper, it could still produce at least some light wintry weather at times. Here is the Euro for next, about the middle of next week. Here's one of those little clippers that moves in. Notice this piece in the southern part got ahead of it in advance, so the clipper lagged. No phasing. Some of the other models I have looked at, especially I think it was the Icon, was a little slower with this southern piece, a lot slower, in fact. So it wants to go full-on winter storm for the Ohio Valley. But that's the biggest difference you're going to see in the models. And you're going to get whiplash. Every model run will look different because every time they ingest data, if they are only off a few hours, the model looks at that, deciphers it, and spits out a map. And that map could completely look different. And then 6 hours later, do it again, spit out, and a whole other map, all because timing was just off because the systems haven't formed yet. So it's trying to calculate for every margin of error. And that's what weather models use as a tool to trend storm systems, not take as gospel that is what's going to happen. So I know that can be hard to understand when you see just one image of a model being sent out because you're thinking that's the gospel of what's coming. In reality, that is one piece of thousands. Okay, so anyway, that's the Clipper system. Whether or not it can phase, I don't know yet, but it will be the next on the list to watch. It moves out, and this is where the part of the Euro I can show you ends. But if I kept it going, it would be the same thing. Another one would drop down and more energy to the south, and it's just, phase or not. Here's the matrix, at least for the short term from the Euro. Bring that up. Okay, again, don't get too caught up in the colors. What you're looking at is the dates here at the bottom. And these are all the different ensemble runs from the Euro. You want above the date and the column above it, you want to fill in with all kinds of, especially all grays or just numbers in general. You want to fill in. And the more it fills in up and down, confidence on that date of something happened on the wintry side, especially snowfall, begins to increase. Notice it's very scattered. It's a little noisier. Let's see, when is this? Let me get rid of my pen, sorry. It is a little noisier here as we get into about the 15th through the 20th. But there are multiple systems coming through at that time, so it doesn't know yet which one to lock on. But getting noisy is step one, because we did not have the signal at all for the end of December. It was quiet. So now we're getting back to action. And speaking of that, here is the long-term matrix all the way into Valentine's Day. And this, pretty impressive. This is actually above normal snowfall outlook, if it's correct. This one's a little different on this. Once it is marked on the map as producing snowfall, it holds on to that idea all the way to the very end. So it looks like it's guaranteed to snow all those days. That's not necessarily the case. You want to look and see where the colors start. So this would be a snow chance here, roughly around the 15th, 16th or so. And then you see a pink that starts up right there. So there's a sign of one around the 20th. And there's several darker pinks that seem to show up around February, first week or weekend February, already showing up there. So I think it's interesting. I think it's going to be a wild time in the coming weeks. We'll just hang on tight and see how this plays out. It's been a weird, it's a new year now, but last year was a weird year. We'll see if the weirdness continues. So there's your entire 10-day. Not too shabby in the short term, just messy for the end of the week with the rain and thunderstorms. And then we'll work out the longer term deals later, but we're not to the wintry pattern yet. That's going to take until, again, more than a week out before we get into that wintry pattern. So until then, pretty much status quo. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? When do you see the core of winter coming? Hold on, let me get your question real quick, Jeremy. This will be a big chunk of the core. This is probably going to be I know December may have seemed like the main event, but I think the next few weeks into February, typically around here, it's the last week of January into Valentine's Day tends to be our wintriest period of the year. But, nothing's normal around here. So it's hard to say there is going to be a core. I think everything's going to have so many spurts to it this year that it's going to be hard to pick out a core overall. When do you normally start the spring countdown? After spring. Hi, Shonda. You got some PTO to work with. There you go. You're ready to go. Hold on to that PTO, guys. You need that from the snow days. And Bradley, do you see the severe weather threat staying more south? I do. At this time, I do. I do. The teleconnection pattern, we're going to be seeing that, especially as you head into the northern latitudes less. Getting the Pacific to change is going to be a big sign to influence our weather again. And I think that's where we're going to be seeing the biggest change of all. Western Canada and to Alaska, that's where we're going to see the most drastic change. Chris, any change in indices? Not necessarily. The PNA is the only one that's not positive, but most of them are, the rest of them are negative. So the potential for a block is high, and the potential for cold air to be on the move is high. So that's 2 of the 3. Now we just got to figure out the storm track. But you don't have to have a PNA to be positive to get active storm track here. You can still happen. All right. I'll leave it at that for now, guys. I appreciate it as always. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. It's going to be a busy week, so we'll be fine-tuning this stormy setup carefully as we evolve into Thursday and Friday. But right now, no big alarm for concern here with that. It's just going to be an active setup here, and we'll take it one step at a time, right? Take care, everybody. I will see you guys coming up on the flip side at 11 a.m. on midday. Take care.